Stop before you scroll, before you doubt, before you assume this is just another message. Take one breath, because what you are about to hear is not random. It is not coincidence. It is not timing by chance. If these words found you, it is because something has been hidden from you for a very long time. And today, that veil is lifting. Chosen one, God is revealing the truth they never wanted you to know. And they is not just people. It is systems, patterns, generational silence, spiritual resistance, the quiet forces that benefited from you staying confused about who you are. Your entire life, something felt off. Not broken, just off. As if the story you were handed did not fully explain you. As if the role you were assigned did not match your capacity. As if there was more, but no one would say it out loud. You felt underestimated, misread, misjudged, and strangely watched. There were moments when doors closed in ways that did not make sense, when opportunities slipped through your hands at the last second, when people turned against you without clear reason, when your character was questioned by those who barely understood you. You were told to shrink, to calm down, to be realistic, to lower expectations, to stop thinking so deeply, to stop asking so many questions. But something inside you refused, not loudly, not rebelliously, quietly, steadily, refused. Because your spirit knew something your environment did not confirm. There is a reason you survived things that should have broken you. A reason you recovered from betrayals that should have hardened you. A reason you still feel called to something greater even after disappointment. The truth is this: you were never meant to stay unaware of your capacity. And the reason truth was delayed was not because you were unworthy, but because you were being prepared. Preparation often feels like isolation. Isolation feels like rejection. Rejection feels like punishment. But sometimes it is protection from premature exposure. There are truths about you that, if revealed too early, would have been attacked too aggressively. There are gifts in you that required maturity before activation. There's influence in you that needed character to sustain it. They never wanted you to know that you carry impact, because aware power cannot be easily manipulated, and you have been more powerful than you realized for a long time. The reason confusion surrounded your path is because clarity changes posture. The moment you understand who you are, you stop negotiating your worth. You stop over-explaining yourself. You stop begging for inclusion, and that shift disrupts dynamics. God does not reveal truth randomly. He reveals it when you are strong enough to carry it without collapsing under its weight. And if you are hearing this now, it means you have grown. More than you give yourself credit for. You are not here by accident. You are here because the version of you that doubted is fading, and the version that understands is rising. This is not about ego. It is about alignment. Not superiority, but clarity. Not arrogance, but accuracy. You have been living beneath the awareness of your own calling. And today, something begins to shift. Not loudly, not dramatically, internally. A recognition, a remembering, a realignment. Chosen one. The truth is not coming to inflate you. It is coming to free you. And once you see clearly, you will never move the same way again. You thought they misunderstood you. But misunderstanding was never the full story. It was miscalculation. From the beginning, people tried to define you too quickly. They labeled you based on fragments. Too quiet, too intense, too sensitive, too ambitious, too different. They saw pieces and assumed the whole. But what they were actually sensing was depth. Depth makes people uncomfortable when they are used to surfaces. You asked questions others avoided. You noticed patterns others ignored. You felt shifts in rooms before words were spoken. And instead of recognizing discernment, they called it overthinking. Instead of honoring perception, they called it dramatic. Instead of acknowledging insight, They called it pride. But here is the truth God is revealing. You were not too much. You were simply more aware than your environment could interpret. Awareness threatens systems built on unconscious repetition. When one person begins to see clearly, denial becomes harder to maintain. Dysfunction becomes harder to normalize. Silence becomes harder to justify. So, they minimized you. Not always intentionally. Not always maliciously, but consistently. Because it was easier to shrink your perception than to confront their limitations. There were rooms where you felt tension without explanation. Conversations where you sensed hidden agendas. Relationships where you carried emotional weight that was never yours. And you questioned yourself. Am I imagining this? Am I too sensitive? Why does this feel wrong? You were trained to doubt your discernment. But discernment was your protection. God placed that awareness in you long before you had language for it. And the more you tried to silence it to fit in, the heavier you felt. Because suppressing clarity creates internal conflict. You were never designed to live disconnected from your inner knowing. The truth is this: they benefited from you questioning yourself. Because a self-doubting chosen one is easier to redirect, easier to discourage, easier to delay. But something kept surfacing. Moments when you spoke truth and it landed with unusual weight. Moments when you walked away from something and later realized you avoided disaster. Moments when your intuition protected you from harm you never fully saw. That was not luck. That was alignment. You were not misjudged because you lacked value. You were misjudged because your value was not convenient. Your presence exposes inconsistencies. Your questions expose weak foundations. Your standards expose mediocrity. And when exposure happens, resistance follows. This is why some people reacted strongly to you without clear cause. It was never about personality. It was about perception. They sensed that you could see through what they were trying to maintain, and clarity disrupts comfort. There were times you tried to become smaller, softer, less direct, less observant, less honest. You experimented with blending in, but it exhausted you, because pretending not to see what you clearly saw required more energy than standing in quiet truth. God is revealing now that your difference was design, not defect. You were positioned in certain environments not to be absorbed by them, but to understand them, to learn their patterns, to develop resilience, to refine your voice. Every misunderstanding strengthened your independence. Every dismissal sharpened your internal validation. Every rejection forced you to build identity beyond approval. What felt like exclusion was construction. Construction of confidence that does not depend on applause. Construction of faith that does not depend on comfort. Construction of clarity that does not collapse under opposition. You survived being underestimated. And surviving that builds unusual strength. Because once you no longer need agreement to believe in yourself, manipulation loses leverage. They misjudged your silence as weakness, but your silence was observation. They misjudged your patience as passivity, but your patience was timing. They misjudged your withdrawal as insecurity, but your withdrawal was discernment. The truth being revealed now is simple but life-altering. You were never behind. You were being built in private. And private construction always looks like invisibility before it looks like influence. There were seasons where you felt overlooked, forgotten, hidden. But hidden does not mean inactive. Roots grow in darkness before trees rise in visibility. You were growing roots, deep ones. Stability that does not crack under pressure. Conviction that does not evaporate under criticism. Vision that does not fade under delay. They misread the process because they only recognize visible progress. But God works internally before externally. The truth they never wanted you to know is this: You carry authority that does not require permission, and the moment you stop seeking validation from those who misjudged you, you reclaim energy that was never meant to be spent on proving yourself. You are not here to convince everyone. You are here to walk in clarity. And clarity changes posture. You stand differently when you understand you were designed intentionally. You speak differently when you understand your voice carries weight. You decide differently when you understand your path is guided. Misjudgment was not your limitation. It was your training ground. And now that you see it, something shifts. You stop replaying old conversations. You stop rehearsing explanations. You stop shrinking to avoid discomfort, because you finally understand. They did not see you clearly, but God always did.